Hello there, very good evening and welcome to the news tonight. Here are the headlines of the day. Supreme Court refers the matter relating to the entry of women in Kerala's Sabrimala shrine to 5-judge constitution bench, issue to be tested against the fundamental rights of Article 14 and Article 15 of the Constitution. World Bank praises central government's reforms to strengthen Indian economy. World Bank chief Jim Yong Kim says results will be reflected in the mid- and long-term growth figures. Supreme Court refuses to relax the ban on sale of firecrackers in Delhi and NCR, directing the Delhi police to implement its order. The court says that people can burst crackers that they may have already purchased before its ban order. And a day after the US and Israel quit the UN cultural organization UNESCO, China says it will continue to actively participate in it, calls for other countries to also support the institution. Our top story, the Supreme Court today referred the matter of entry of women into the inner sanctum of Kerala's Sabrimala temple to a 5-judge constitution bench. A 3-judge bench headed by the Chief Justice of India, Deepak Mishra, had framed the 6 questions for the constitution bench, including whether the temple can restrict women's entry. The constitution bench will also decide whether the practice is gender discriminatory and violated the right to equality and religious freedom of women. The apex court also framed a question whether the restriction qualifies as an essential religious practice of the Hindu faith, over which the Supreme Court has no jurisdiction. Sabrimala temple in Kerala does not allow menstruating women to enter its premises, as the presiding deity, Lord Ayyappa, is a bachelor. We'll keep you updated on developments there. Meanwhile, in other news, the World Bank has praised reforms carried out by the Modi government to boost the economy. Terming the reforms as significant, the World Bank president, Jim Yong Kim, said that the results would reflect in the long term. Kim made these remarks while speaking at the start of the annual meeting of the IMF and the World Bank in Washington. Here's a report. The World Bank has hailed the reforms undertaken by the central government to strengthen the Indian economy. World Bank chief Jim Yong Kim said that reforms carried out by Prime Minister Modi have been significant. He added that the results would be reflected in the mid- and long-term growth figures. Speaking at the start of the annual meeting of the IMF in Washington, Kim said that the slowdown in the economy was temporary. He also praised GST as a good move by the government.
Our team feels that the slowdown has been the result of waiting for the passage of the goods and services tax. Prime Minister Modi took a very different approach to our doing business report. And his approach was, we are going to move up quickly and we're going to do the things that we need to do to reform the business environment. And the actions that he's taken are really quite substantial. So we'll wait to see what happens on the doing business report this year. But we've been very encouraged with the reforms that he has already taken.
The World Bank chief's statement comes a day after it downgraded India's growth forecast from 8.6% in 2015 to 7% in 2017 because of disruptions by demonetization and GST. IMF too lowered India's growth projection to 6.7% in 2017, 0.5 percentage points less than its previous 2 forecasts. Meanwhile, IMF chief Christine Lagarde underlined the need to redouble the efforts to create a more inclusive global trading system. She said such a system would benefit every economy in the world.
Our suggestion is that it is not time to be complacent. It's time to take those policy decisions that will actually enable more people and more countries to benefit from that recovery that should be made sustainable.
Just last week, the World Bank chief had said that the recent slowdown in India's economic growth is short-term and an aberration mainly due to the temporary disruptions in preparation for GST. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. Back home, the Supreme Court turned down a trader's petition to relax the ban on the sale of firecrackers in Delhi and NCR. A 2-judge bench said that relaxing the ban order would now be against the very spirit of the verdict passed by the top court. It also directed the Delhi police to implement the order. The apex court also expressed pain over certain people trying to give its order a political colour after advocate Prashant Bhushan referred to certain statements made by some political leaders. Traders had appealed against the court's October 9th order seeking permission to sell crackers for at least a day or two before Diwali on the 19th of October. Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath reached Gujarat today for a two-day election campaign. Addressing a rally at Valsad, he attacked the Congress, calling it a symbol of devastation. He also praised the Prime Minister for development in Gujarat.
Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath arrived in Gujarat on Friday to campaign for the BJP ahead of the assembly elections. Adityanath joined his party's Gaurav Yatra in Valsad and lashed out at Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi, saying the Congress loses every time Rahul Gandhi campaigns for it.
वे विकास की बात करेंगे, ये विकास के समर्थक नहीं, ये विनाश के समर्थक हैं। इसीलिए जब इशरत जहां जैसी आतंकवादी गुजरात की धरती में सुरक्षा बलों के द्वारा मारी जाती है, तो उसका समर्थन करने के लिए राहुल गांधी आते हैं। ये कांग्रेस है, ये विकास नहीं, ये विनाश के प्रतीक हैं।
Stepping up his attack on Gandhi, Adityanath said the Gandhi family failed to usher in development in their political bastion Amethi and they cannot be trusted with the development of Gujarat either.
तीन पीढ़ी जिन्होंने अमेठी और रायबरेली की उत्तर प्रदेश से नेतृत्व किया, तीसरी पीढ़ी राहुल गांधी के रूप में है। श्रीमती इंदिरा गांधी, श्री राजीव गांधी जी और आज श्री राहुल गांधी भी उसी अमेठी से सांसद हैं। राहुल गांधी ने कभी अमेठी के अंदर कलेक्ट्रेट को बनाने यानी जिला मुख्यालय के निर्माण की कभी सुध नहीं ली। जो अपने संसदीय क्षेत्र में, अपने जिले में कलेक्ट्रेट की नींव नहीं रख सकता, आप उससे उम्मीद करते हैं वे गुजरात के विकास की बात करेंगे।
Yogi Adityanath will campaign in the poll-bound state for 2 days to consolidate his party's core vote bank. His visit comes only 2 days after Rahul Gandhi's second visit to the poll-bound state. He's scheduled to address gatherings in South Gujarat on Saturday as part of the Gujarat Gaurav Yatra being organized by the party. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Pakistan violated ceasefire again today, firing indiscriminately in the Poonch sector of Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan started heavy shelling around 7 a.m., targeting forward posts and even residential areas along the LOC. Indian forces retaliated to the Pakistani firing. Residents in Fakir Dara area of Poonch, which is barely 1.5 kilometers away from the LOC, were the worst hit as shells landed inside homes, forcing people to evacuate. Schools in the area were also shut. This is the second incident of Pakistani forces targeting residential areas and Indian posts along the LOC in less than 24 hours. On Thursday, an army jawan and a porter were killed and 6 others injured in firing by Pakistani troops.
आज सुबह 7 बजे के करीब ये पाकिस्तान ने जो है हैवी शेलिंग शुरू कर दी। ये सिलसिला जो है उन्होंने कल से शुरू किया हुआ है, तो आज अचानक से एक बार फिर से ये सिलसिला शुरू हुआ जिसमें उन्होंने हमारी जो फॉरवर्ड पोस्ट हैं उनको और साथ में जो रिहायशी इलाका है जो फकीर दरा का एरिया है इसको उन्होंने टारगेट किया है।
यहाँ पे जो भी रिहायशी इलाका है वहाँ घरों में बम आ रहे हैं और यहाँ पे आज स्कूल भी बंद है, आज सब स्कूल बंद है, ट्रेड सेंटर है उसके इर्द गिर्द सारे हर पास यहाँ पे बम गिर रहे हैं। आप देख सकते हैं इस एरिया में बहुत बुरा हाल है।
At least 11 Indians have been reportedly gone missing after a cargo ship sank off the coast of Philippines in the Pacific Ocean as a typhoon churned in the region. The 33,205-ton Emerald Star had 26 Indians on board. The Japanese Coast Guard said that it had received a distress signal from the vessel earlier today when it was about 280 kilometers east of the northern tip of the Philippines. 3 other vessels sailing near the area were then able to rescue 15 of the crew members. We'll keep an eye out on the situation there. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court today also sought a response from the government on a plea seeking a direction to the centre and the Election Commission for common electoral rolls for Parliament. A bench tagged the plea filed by Delhi BJP leader Ashwini Upadhyay. The petition also sought direction to the authorities to take steps to use the totalizer device for counting of votes. Totalizer allows votes cast in about 14 polling booths to be counted together. The petition also sought that elections should be held on a Sunday as it enables maximum voter turnout. The petitioner has also proposed that post offices should be used as the nodal agency for voter registration and verification as it will overcome issue of duplication and confusion and will save public money and manpower. Talking of elections, the Congress on Friday set up a 3-member screening committee for the selection of candidates for the upcoming Himachal Pradesh Assembly election. The chairman of the Congress screening committee will be former MP Jitendra Singh, while MP Gaurav Gogoi and MLA Vijay Inder Singla have been nominated as its members. The panel will screen the Congress candidates for all 68 assembly constituencies before their names are approved and recommended by the State Election Committee for the final nod from the party leadership. The Election Commission on Thursday announced that polls for the state would take place on 9th of November and counting on December 18th.
The Congress party is extremely confident of winning both the elections in Himachal Pradesh and Gujarat. In both states, we have seen tremendous response after Rahul Gandhiji's rallies. In Himachal Pradesh, after declaring the current Chief Minister as a face in the upcoming elections.
हिमाचल की जनता का इंतज़ार ख़त्म हुआ और हिमाचल की पुकार भाजपा सरकार का समय शुरू हुआ। हिमाचल की जनता ने 2012 के चुनाव के बाद हर चुनाव भारतीय जनता पार्टी को जिताया, चाहे वो उपचुनाव हो, चाहे वो शिमला के कॉरपोरेशन चुनाव हो या लोकसभा की चारों सीटें भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी को जिताई हैं। ये अपने आप में दिखता है कि जनता कांग्रेस से दुखी है, त्रस्त है और एक विकास वाली सरकार को चाहती है और विकास के लिए भारतीय जनता पार्टी जानी जाती है।
Now to West Bengal, and after a 2-week lull, violence returned to Darjeeling on Friday. A sub-inspector was shot dead and 4 policemen were injured in clashes between the police and alleged supporters of Gorkha leader Bimal Gurung. Acting on a specific tip-off about Gurung's presence near his residence at Patlibas, security forces were moved towards his operational headquarters when armed cadres opened fire at the forces. The crossfire continued for several hours, after which the police raided Gurung's residence and recovered 6 AK-47 rifles, an improvised pistol, 500 rounds of cartridges and other explosives. Bimal Gurung has been in hiding since August after cases under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act were registered against him for his alleged involvement in several bomb blasts in Darjeeling and the adjoining areas. Moving ahead, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu hosted the governors and lieutenant governors from states across India at his residence on Friday evening. Earlier, he addressed the governors' conference at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He asked the governors to avoid controversies by adhering to the provision of the Constitution. The Vice President also said that governors have an important role in preserving, protecting and defending the Constitution and the law. He added that the governors should take on the role of a guide, philosopher and mentor, and they should act as catalysts and facilitators of the change process. The governors were in Delhi to participate in the 2-day conference of governors and lieutenant governors of states and union territories. BJP President Amit Shah on Friday said that there was no question of corruption in his son, Jai Amit Shah's company. Speaking for the first time on the allegations against his son, Shah claimed that his son never did any business with the government. He was referring to a report in a news portal that claimed that Jai Shah's business fortunes zoomed after the BJP came to power in 2014. The BJP chief also criticized the Congress, which used the report to attack him as well as Prime Minister Narendra Modi. The Congress has demanded an inquiry into the matter, while the BJP has called the article defamatory. On the 9th of October, Jai Shah filed a criminal defamation suit against The Wire in a metropolitan court in Ahmedabad. With that, let's take you through what else made news across the country today in Nationwide. 3 masked gunmen today robbed a bank in Ratnipora area of Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama district, decamping with several lakh rupees. The men barged into a branch of the Jammu and Kashmir bank and fled with the cash. They also damaged the CCTV cameras. The security forces today arrested a Hizbul Mujahideen terrorist from Pastuna forest area of Tral in Pulwama district. Gulzar Dar was apprehended in a joint operation by the Indian Army, the Jammu and Kashmir Police and CRPF during a cordon and search operation. The Supreme Court today sought the response of the Ryan Group owners on a petition to cancel their anticipatory bail granted by the Punjab and Haryana High Court. The Pintos had earlier approached the Bombay High Court as they apprehended arrest in the case after one of their schools was accused of negligence in the death of a minor boy. The Apex Court also granted more time to all parties in connection with the Rohingya deportation case to argue and posted the matter for further hearing on the 21st of November. The apex court observed that national importance could not be secondary, and at the same time, human rights of these immigrants should be kept in mind. Also, no deportation of any Rohingya refugees should take place till the next date of hearing. A quick break here. We'll be back with the international news in a bit. Stay with us.
The world today is talking about reactive nitrogen becoming a pollutant. Even though it's a nutrient in our food production system, can become a pollutant if it is in a drinking water source. Sewage becomes the second largest contribution and the fastest growing contributor to reactive nitrogen load. The amount ammonia, urea, nitrogen that is lost through domestic sewage, if that can be recycled back into crops, you can cut down the fertilizer by as much as 40%.
Watch Eureka with Professor N. Raghuram, Dean at School of Biotechnology, GGS Indraprasth University, Dwarka, only on Rajya Sabha television.
The art of painting comes to us from the prehistoric period. Paintings are also a valuable source of information about their age. Like this depiction of the wedding procession of Dara Shikoh. The eldest son of Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan had a Mughal wedding with distinctive Indian elements. Like the veil he wears, to the pomp and show of the Bharat in Hindu weddings.
Welcome back. Let's get you international news now. China has said that it will continue to actively participate in UNESCO and call for other countries to support the institution. This comes a day after the US and Israel announced that they were quitting the UN Cultural Organization. The withdrawal of the United States, which is meant to provide a fifth of the UNESCO's funding, is a major blow for the Paris-based organization. UNESCO was founded after World War II to help protect cultural and natural heritage around the world. It is best known for designating World Heritage sites such as the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria and the US's Grand Canyon National Park. Under UNESCO rules, the US withdrawal will become effective as of the end of December 2018.
联合国教科文组织的宗旨是推动教育、科学和文化领域的国际合作，促进文明相互理解和融合，维护世界和平，实现共同发展。中方希望所有国家都能为此做出贡献。中方将继续积极地参与联合国教科文组织的工作，并支持联合国教科文组织的工作。我们愿意就此同其他国家开展合作。
And now to the latest from California. Firefighters faced another round of dry, windy conditions on Friday as they continue to battle wildfires across the U.S. state. The death toll from the most lethal wildfire event in California's history has now risen to 31, while more than 400 people are still missing. The wildfires that began last Sunday have been raging on, consuming over 3,500 homes and businesses and more than 190,000 acres of land. The causes of the fires is still under investigation. More than 8,000 firefighters and support personnel are battling over fires. A state of emergency continues in Napa Valley, Sonoma and Yuba counties in Northern California. Meanwhile, relief shelters are working to help affected Californian residents get through the disaster. Over 20,000 people have been evacuated and about half of them have been accommodated in these shelters.
The Red Cross provides as much comfort as we possibly can. We offer them food, shelter, so we set up cots if they're going to stay overnight, blankets. We also worked with the Salvation Army here in Orange County, and they provided a lot of the food. We've also had a great response from the community bringing in donations. We've had restaurants that would bring food to help feed our people. Obviously, the school district has been wonderful in allowing us to use this gym, so it's been a real cooperative effort to be able to help all the people that were affected by the fires.
US President Donald Trump, meanwhile, is expected to withdraw backing from the nuclear accord with Iran. The White House says the US president will make an announcement over the weekend on an overall Iran strategy, including whether to decertify the international deal curbing Tehran's nuclear program. The move would not withdraw the US from the deal, but give the Congress 60 days to decide to do so by reimposing sanctions. Under the 2015 accord, Iran agreed to freeze its nuclear program in return for partial lifting of sanctions. Donald Trump has been a long-standing critic of the deal and pledged to scrap it during his campaign. In his speech at the UN General Assembly last month, Trump had also described the deal as one of the worst and most one-sided transactions the US has ever entered into. He even said that the deal caused embarrassment to the United States. Speculation that the US president might refuse to recertify the deal has caused alarm among US allies and some members of his own administration. Floods and landslides continue to ravage Vietnam, claiming more lives and displacing thousands of people. At least 54 people are dead and 39 are missing in one of the worst floods Vietnam has seen in years. The storm that hit central Vietnam on Tuesday also injured 31 people and submerged more than 30,000 houses, damaged infrastructure, crops and livestock. Over 300 houses have collapsed. Heavy rains in the central and northern regions disrupted transportation in some areas, hampering efforts to rescue the missing. Hoa Binh province in the northwest is the worst hit and has declared a state of emergency. And here are more international news updates in Global Buzz. South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal has upheld a High Court ruling to reinstate hundreds of corruption charges filed against Jacob Zuma before he became president. State prosecutors set aside the charges in April 2009, which paved the way for Zuma to run for presidency. The National Prosecuting Authority has to decide whether to reinstate the charges, which relate to a 30 billion rand government arms deal arranged in the late 1990s. An anti-corruption court on Friday adjourned the indictment of Pakistan's ousted Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, his daughter and son-in-law in the Panama Papers case till 19th of October due to protests by lawyers. The National Accountability Bureau had registered 3 cases of corruption and money laundering against Sharif, his family members and Finance Minister Ishaq Dar in the Islamabad Accountability Court. South Korea has detected a 4th small earthquake near North Korea's main nuclear test site after the country's 6th and most powerful nuclear test explosion last month. South Korea's weather agency said that the 4 quakes occurred because of the underground nuclear explosion, which weakened or affected the tectonic plate structures in the area. Finally, all the updates from the world of sports in Sports Beat. India's run at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup came to an end yesterday. India lost to Ghana 0-4 in the final group, a match at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in New Delhi on Thursday. While Eric Aia scored, the opener Richard Danso and Emmanuel Toku guided Ghana to a 4-0 victory. With the win, Ghana entered the knockout stage and is at the top of the group with a goal difference. The International Cricket Council on Friday gave the green light to a Test Championship and One-Day International League. A Test Championship is suggested as a means to make the Test format more relevant to fans who have increasingly turned onwards one-day matches. In tennis, Switzerland's Roger Federer beat France's Richard Gasquet in the Shanghai Masters. Federer defeated Gasquet 7-5, 6-4 to enter the semi-finals of the tournament. He will now face Argentina's Juan Martín del Potro in the semi-finals. In another Shanghai Masters match, world number 1 Rafael Nadal entered the semi-finals too, beating Bulgaria's Grigor Dimitrov 6-4, 6-7, 6-3 and will now face Marin Cilic. That's it on the news tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
News.